everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our program brought to you by the League of Women Voters. My name is Pam Tomke. I am a member of the Manistee County League. I'm also a retired township clerk. I held my position for 27 years and I retired in 2021. Today's presentation is going to focus on ballot proposals that could appear on the ballots for Michigan voters in 2026. The proposals include changes to voting laws, taxes, minimum wage, and campaign finance. And our presentation is entitled Know What You Sign. I'd like to talk to you just for a minute about the history of the League. It started officially in Chicago over 100 years ago, just a few months before the 19th Amendment was ratified, giving women the right to vote. The League began as a mighty political experiment and was designed to help 20 million women carry out their new responsibilities as voters. The mission and the vision and the values of the League have remained the same over the years: to empower voters, to defend democracy. We envision a pluralistic, multiracial democracy where every person has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate. We believe that women have the power to help create a more perfect democracy. The League has a proud reputation of being nonpartisan. We neither support nor oppose any candidate or political party at any level of government. We're always working on vital issues of concern to members of the public. In Michigan, we are one of 15 states that allows citizens the power to initiate legislation. There are three different ways that this can happen. One is to a legislative initiative, which would initiate a new law. The second one is the power of referendum, which would repeal a law that's already been passed. And the third is the power to amend the Michigan Constitution. That is a very powerful thing because a constitutional amendment essentially places legislation off limits to the Congress. They also have to put any change to the Constitution on the ballot before voters. There are very strict requirements for circulating a petition to make these ballot initiatives happen. And the slide in front of you shows the number of signatures required to have these proposals approved. They're based on a formula. A certain percentage of the most recent gubernatorial election, the numbers of people who voted in that election, a percentage of that number constitutes how many signatures have to be collected. For a constitutional amendment, that percentage threshold is the highest. You can see the number there, 446,198. To initiate new legislation, the threshold is 8% of that number. You can see the number there, 300-some thousand. And for a referendum, the number is the lowest threshold. So on to the proposals. The first proposal that is here on our slide is going to appear on the ballot. It does not require signatures or a petition because it had been enshrined in the Constitution. And it's an initiative to hold a state constitutional convention. It will be on all of ballots in Michigan in 2026. You can see the wording there in your third bullet point. Shall a convention of elected delegates be convened in 2027 to draft a general revision of the state constitution and so forth. So that will be Prop 1 or Proposal 1. Now, if you go to a festival or a concert or a farmer's market, you may be greeted by petition circulators who are seeking your signature. One of the groups doing this, you see here, the American Citizens for Voting. This proposal and the one we're going to look at next both would amend the Constitution regarding election laws, and both of them would require documentary proof of citizenship. You might see it in, abbreviated as DPOC. A question frequently asked about these two proposals is, is it already illegal for non-citizens to vote? Yes, the answer is yes. There are laws in place regarding non-citizens voting in federal and state elections, and anyone who attempts to register to vote or to vote who is a non-citizen can face penalties of fines, imprisonment, or the possibility of being deported. So the DPOC, the documentary proof of citizenship, adds extra hurdles for eligible citizens when they attempt to register or to vote. Each of these proposals has a summary, a 100-word summary that hits some of the points. It is not inclusive of everything that would be changed by the proposal, but some of the main points that you see on the screen, it would require citizens to verify their citizenship, their place of birth, with documents such as a birth certificate or a passport. And then citizens who don't provide these documents would be removed from the voter rolls. Starting in the fall of 2027, ballots that are cast by citizens with unverified citizenship would not be tabulated. That voter would have to come in with documents within 6 days of the election. And this proposal and the next one would eliminate an affidavit alternative, which allows someone who is a registered voter, who is on the voter rolls, but perhaps forgot their ID that day, or maybe they don't have a picture ID with them. They are now allowed to vote if they sign a legal affidavit stating that they are a citizen under penalty of perjury. This would be eliminated. You could no longer do that. And there would also be new restrictions for ID requirements to obtain an absent voter ballot. And there are penalties included in the proposal. The second proposal's similar in content, and it's the group circulating it calls themselves the Committee to Protect Voters' Rights. Their proposal would require the Michigan Secretary of State to scan all registered voters and document their citizenship. There's a process whereby people who don't have the documents would be removed, and it would require the Secretary of State to maintain separate voter lists for eligible voters for federal and state and local elections. It also has the prohibition for voters who have unverified citizenship to vote. Someone who didn't have the documents could bring them in within 6 days. New people who are newly registering to vote would have to provide these citizenship documents. It also eliminates that affidavit alternative. And there is a requirement for, see that on this one and the one previous, requires the Secretary of State or the Department of State to create a process to help pay for people who have a hardship obtaining a document, an ID or a birth certificate. The process is not clearly defined. It just says that the legislature would be required to create such a hardship fund. Okay, the next proposals have to do with taxes. The first one, the group circulating it calls themselves Axe My Tax, Axe My Tax. And this is a constitutional amendment. The 100-word summary starts out by saying that all property taxes in Michigan would be eliminated. And the the proposal eliminates the property taxes, which are the primary source of revenues for schools and local governments in our state. This petition would send more state tax, the state sales tax revenue to local governments with stipulations. It also would take tax money from the sale of marijuana, alcohol, and tobacco and direct those to local governments, but those that revenue could not be used for schools. Just an FYI, in 2024, Michigan obtained $20.4 billion from property taxes. That revenue would be eliminated. And the other part of this would make it more difficult to raise taxes. 60% voter approval would be required to raise local taxes, such as taxes for fire and police protection, libraries, parks, schools, things like that, which are now passable by a simple majority. That would need a 60% voter approval. And 2/3 vote of the legislature would be required for any tax increases. The two prior to that and this one are constitutional amendments, so they all have that highest threshold number of signatures required. Next, we have the Voters to Stop Pay Cuts, who are trying to get a referendum on the ballot. It has to do with changing the state's minimum wage. Um, it This is legislation that just started a year ago, and there's a scale for raising the minimum wage. Um, this proposal would reduce the minimum wage, and it would change how further increases are adjusted for inflation. There's also a lot of language in this proposal about changing the way tipped workers are paid. Right now, tipped workers currently receive uh, something in the neighborhood of $4 an hour. But that is proposed to be changed. It is going to be changed by current legislation. This proposal would have that tipped wage schedule increase to 100% of the minimum wage by 2030. Currently in legislation now, there is a civil fine for employers who fail to pay that minimum hourly wage. That would be eliminated. And then that requires a lower threshold of signatures to be put onto the ballot. Okay, a group calling themselves Invest in My Kids um, proposes to raise taxes on wealthy income earners. Right now, Michigan has a flat income tax rate of 4.25%. If this goes into effect, couples who make more than $1 million or individuals who make more than $500,000 a year would see an increase in their taxes. And all the money that's raised by that increase would go to fund local schools. It would be exclusively for use by schools to help with career and tech ed, reduce class sizes, help with teacher retention. And since this is also a constitutional amendment, it has that higher threshold of required signatures. Another tax proposal has to do with, actually, this has to do with campaign finance. And it's proposed by Michiganders for money out of politics. Sometimes you might hear it referred to as Mop Up Michigan. And it adds language that would prohibit electric and gas companies such as DTE or Consumers Energy from making substantial contributions to candidates or people who are already in office. Um, and it would expand campaign finance laws that regulate how much it can be spent on communications such as magazines, newspapers, and required disclosing donor information. It also, the new law, if it goes in, would also require disclosure of who paid for political communications on the internet. The threshold there is the 356,000. Their deadline is the end of May. So when you see a petition in Michigan, just know that it is there are a lot of laws governing the petition process. Certain items are required. You can see it on the left-hand side of your screen, including the size of the type. It must have the name and address of the person or group or organization who is paying to have these petitions printed. The 100-word summary that appears on a petition is just that. It's not the entire proposal. There are many, many facets of a lot of these proposals that cannot be summed up in 100 words. The ballot language may be on the back of the petition, and it's easy to find the entire ballot language and more discussion about what the proposal actually entails. Keep in mind that when you sign a proposal like this, you need to know what you're signing and if in fact you do agree with it, because these proposals are yes, no, they're inclusive. You can't, once it gets on the ballot, everything proposed in the ballot language goes into law. It's not line item, it's all or nothing, because these will all be yes, no proposals. So our message overall today is to know what you are signing. Take the time to read and understand what a proposal actually is proposing, what the potential consequences are. Find out who is behind it so that you as a voter can make an informed decision. It's really essential to be that voters are informed and to be cautious so you don't accidentally sign something you might disagree with or that was hidden in the short summary language. It's pretty easy to find about the QR code that you see right in front of you. If you have a smartphone and you snap a photo of that, it will take you to the League of Women Voters website. There's a really excellent discussion, a panel discussion hosted by the League about the documentary proof of citizenship requirement and other resources as well. If you have the internet, you can easily go on to any of these websites. The first one, michigan.gov, is easily searchable for ballot proposals, for petition requirements, and for lots of, you can find all the language. It's michigan.gov. Vote 411 is another really excellent source, especially for candidate information. Michigan.gov/vote is the michigan.gov website. And then the League of Voters, of the LWV michigan.org, is another great source of information. If you are watching this presentation, possibly you are already a member of the League of Women Voters. Our membership is open to anyone who's 16 years or older, and you are automatically a member of your local and your state and national leagues. And your membership gives you the opportunity to be involved, to get actively involved in local issues and also state and national issues. Membership is online. There's a website for Michigan, for Manistee County, lwvmanisteecounty.org, and there's a join button that you can choose. We want to thank you so much for joining us today. We're not able to take questions on this recording, but we do hope the information has been helpful to you, and we encourage you to be informed, to know what you sign, and to spread the word about these potential ballot proposals for Michigan voters in 2026. Thank you.